We've got audio and perfect. Let us begin. Shabbat Shalom, my most esteemed friends, honorable judges, LVE tribe, as well as everyone else accompanying us. On this rather precious, rather very beautiful day of Shabbat from California, the US of A, today being the 10th of Bol, or Heshvan, the 8th month. We have entered into November, the 1st of November of the year 2025, in which we shall study yet another chapter of Wisdom and Discipline, part 39. As you all well know, it's been a year ago that we had not continued on with this subject, and many questions have been accumulating, and I want to answer them. This subject is so that there is an interaction. I don't want it to be just instruction, but also about things that interest you, to have some sort of an answer, if I can give you an answer, and it's part of what the wisdom is. Imagine if the Creator were with us, He would have to answer a whole bunch of questions before He can teach us something. We want answers, and well, it's part of this to try to, when we have something we don't know, we want to try to answer it in the best way possible about this life, to have an answer. So then I'd like to congratulate those who have had a birthday during this week, which are as follows: John Sebastian Hernandez Andrade, Colombia; Osman Jeronimo Colindres Ochoa, Honduras; Jahili, I don't know if it's pronounced that way or not, Jahili Arlet Cordero, the Dominican Republic; Sariel Enoch Sangrone Ramirez, Venezuela; Alberto Casillas Aceves, Mexico; Sonia Fernandez, Venezuela; Matias Morales Morales, Chile; Santos Nelson Hernandez, the US of A; Guillermo Heyer, Argentina; and Sergio Mar Florentin, Argentina. To each and every one of you, a great big hug on behalf of all of us, LVE, and may it be your last birthday under this system, although maybe we may have to wait, maybe some of your last birthdays under the system of Babylon. Either way, many blessings on behalf of all of us. We enjoyed the game of Boca. Good thing we won 3-1 against the team of power. It was actually a game that was strange. We started by not playing well, and then they scored on us. Such a goal that they hit anywhere, and it just gets right into the angle. A super goal. And in the second time, we got better, and they kick out the son of the president of the Association of the Argentinian Soccer League. It was not just any guy. They kicked out Tapia, the son of Tapia. The referee, who was in that game, was suspended. With that, I'll tell you everything. So then, apparently the dad didn't like that they kicked out his son. Very well kicked out. Very well kicked out. 2 or 3 more should have been kicked out, but they kicked him out. The captain of the team, the son of the president. So we had a good game. We won 3-1. It was very good, and we needed those 3 points. And tomorrow, we're going to play in Estudiantes de La Plata. It's a team that's very difficult to play against. You should already know it, which is Estudiantes. It's a team. It's very strong at home. And either way, we need those points. So then we have to go out and win. Paredes will not win because he got the 5th yellow. He is suspended. We don't have Paredes. So we're missing a player. We'll see how we'll do tomorrow at 11 at this same time, but tomorrow in 4 hours we'll play against Estudiantes, and the following Sunday we'll play the Super Classico in our stadium against the Chickens, and I hope, of course, we can make a good chicken stew. We have to beat the Chickens because what's at stake is who enters into the Libertadores Cup. It's going to all be very, very intense. So that is what I have to say about Boca. Very well. Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Ekhad. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh. Our God, Yahweh, is one. This is the main key of all the studies that may want to be done about the Bible. We have to understand that the Creator, for us, for the whole human race, for this earth, is one. It's not two, not three, it's one. He doesn't have a divine son, he doesn't have a brother, a co-eternal, it's one. Having understood that, we can start to take the cover off of the scriptures. John 8:31 through 32, then the Messiah said unto the Jews which had believed on him, if ye were to remain in my word, then you shall truly be my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The truth will always make us free, and the truth about the scriptures is impossible for the whole world to understand. It's as simple as that, because the scripture is concealed. That is why they're not free. They're all slaves of what they understand to be truth, and it's not so. Proverbs 25:2 says, it is the glory of Elohim to conceal the word. The word is concealed. Yet the glory of the king is to search out the word. The only one that can understand it is the king, and the king is referring to the Messiah, or the new system of government, or the new God, which will reign for all eternity on this earth. So then, for the whole world that is concealed, the scriptures are not for the king. And that is what takes place, and we see why the whole world will say what it says in Jeremiah 16:19 through 21. I'll just read the important part. Unto thee shall come the peoples from the ends of the earth, and shall say, only lies was the inheritance of our fathers, vanity to which there is no avail. If it is man that makes himself gods, then there are not gods. Always talking about the main lies is about who God is. Notice, what is the lie? The main lie? Who God is. Our fathers taught us to worship certain gods, whichever they might be, and it's all a lie. Who's going to say that? All the peoples. Israel? Even Israel. The Christians also. That it's vanity, that has no sense, without no profit at all. If it is man that makes himself gods, then they're not gods. That is why, behold, I shall make it be known unto them. This time I shall show them the strength of my name, and they shall know that my name is Yahweh. That Yahweh is not the Yahweh Creator. It is the I am that I am. It is the king, or the new system of government, which the earth shall have. Farewell. Remember always that the word God is authority. The word God, Elohim, is authority. And when I say the new God, it's the new authority. Now who's the authority on earth? Babylon, it is clear, it is Babylon. It says it reigns over all the cities of the world, over all the kings of the world. Babylon is the God of this earth. But a new God cometh, a new authority. That authority is the new government promised, which the people have different names for it. The Messiah, everything else that they call it. That new God is the only God that the earth shall have. Wisdom and Discipline 39. Lately, I have not received questions from you. I've told you that I have a long list that I'd like to answer. I want to stay up to date. That doesn't take away that you can ask me questions, so that all of you that want to ask me, write me to my Facebook in a private manner, in a DM, and I'll keep all the questions absolutely anonymous, so that your name will not come out. I sometimes don't even know who asked of these that I have. I don't even know who asked, because once I wrote them, I already deleted where I got them from, so that when I'm about to ask, the questions I'm going to answer now, I don't even know who sent them. I tell the truth, because it's been a year. And when I pass them on to the other list, that it's an enormous list, and I've already deleted where it comes from to not get confused and read without, by mistake, read their name. So now that I'm writing them down to read them. I don't even know who asked them, but even though it's been a year later, they're being answered. Some are likened to another other questions that I've already answered, but at least I'll give a small summation. So then all of you that want to send questions, write to my Facebook. And don't send them anywhere else other than my Facebook. Invitational text, which since Halloween was yesterday, we're in that festivity that the whole world celebrates. We have the little pumpkins still that are still good. And Leslie put up this representation that's spectacular of Power Wolf, which is the wolf with a cross. It's spectacular. Dressed as a priest, it is very good. Very good. So then this is in the picture, and that's why I said it'll be here on our table today. Power Wolf, the Christian shepherd of all the sheep. Here it is, very Christian because it's a priest. He's got a cross on his shoulders. He's carrying the cross. So then, those who don't understand these things and say, "Oh, that's satanic," actually, you have a lot to learn. Those who do understand, they enjoy what the symbol is. Very well. I know that you want to continue to study Proverbs and all the rest, but my priority is to answer the questions. I have to answer the questions. If we have time to study Proverbs or not, that depends on something else. But I want to answer questions. I put up 4 questions to answer today. I'll read the invitational text. It's always the same one. I'm using the same one because it's precisely the motive of the Proverbs. Proverbs 1:2, the New Living Translation. The purpose of the Proverbs is to teach wisdom and discipline, and to help the people to comprehend the intelligence of the wise. Impressive text. I am not tired of reading it because it's magnificent. It is the purpose thereof, the finality, the end goal. Okay, first question. This question has already been entirely answered, but like I told you, I'll read them all. It reads as follows. It's been more than a year. This question is, in the kingdom of the Messiah shall matrimony exist? Of course, it's been sent in way before the subject that we've been studying. No, it won't exist. We've answered this already in 2 subjects ago, where it's called a new order, in which clearly Yahweh, in the form of the Messiah, answered that question by saying matrimony belongs to this century, this world. And it was given more than anything in order for the world to be filled. But the matrimony will not exist in the new kingdom. You can answer, in the kingdom of the Messiah, will the matrimony exist? Because according to Genesis, the matrimony is a curse that God placed upon man and woman. This question was formulated very well made, ahead of its time, over a year ago. I don't know who it was who asked this. It really got its answer. But I'll sum it up real quick. Like I told you, the matrimony is for this world, this timeline. In the following one, it'll be something more free. Under no situation am I saying that couples cannot exist. Of course, couples can exist, but not under the responsibility or papers or the legality or obligation or the need of getting together in a couple. The need now, and it's always been that way, it is because women, and I'm not saying about women of these last times, I'm not speaking about that right now, that it's gotten to such a height that is a lot more like unto men, and she's a lot more respected, and she can work and everything. Women in the whole history of this world has been absolutely unprotected, and her only chance of survival was to get married. She had to get married. There came a time in this world, in different cultures, in which a couple had more than one woman or two. They even sacrificed her as a baby because they said that women were something that would not reward anyone for the parents or the world. Women, however, has been punished extremely in many situations, and they didn't have the possibility of equaling men at all. Women didn't have the possibility of keeping herself up. She didn't own land or having some sort of profession or something like that. There are exceptional cases, of course, but I'm talking about generally. The women have always been stepped upon and depended upon men. She didn't even have the possibility sometimes of even understanding what love is between couples, because generally her husband would be chosen for her. Take whatever biblical case, whatever one. The parents would decide whom she would marry. Just imagine, just in one case that I can give you, just one, but I mean, we've got such a quantity of them in the case of Abraham with his son Isaac. They tell him, go and look for this girl to get married. Do you think that the girl, could she fall in love and decide? No, we do know that Rebecca decided, but because Eliezer went, it was Eliezer, right? The servant, Eliezer went to look for her, to look for Rebecca, and there was a dream that the one that was going to come to give her, or whatever was decided, or she thought about it, or he dictated it, or whatever, the one that would meet him to give water to the camels, that would be the girl, and whatever, and all the rest. Well, you know the story perfectly well. So it turns out he takes Rebecca, and she has to marry a guy that she's never seen in her life, that she's never seen, or anything. But it was already decided to marry her. Who does that? That woman is not of today. It's not the mentality of a woman of today. And that's nothing. I mean, we've got cases in which the parents would say, you're going to marry this guy, that's it, it's over. We wouldn't even sell her. So then most of humanity suffered that. The complete and absolute abuse of women. Man is the king of the house. He also has his curses. We've studied that already. But the woman couldn't decide anything, or didn't have any word in the matter. So then, of course, all the couples that have been made have to be dissolved, because it was a necessity for women, and for men also the need of being able and having to have children, the greatest quantity possible, because it was the information that we had in our mind to fulfill the earth. Exactly. It exists up until today, but with more education, you have less children. With less education, more poverty, and more and less studies, or culture, however you want to call it, more children, more and more children. Because women enters into a role that is very closed of having to be a mother, of having to be the body that generates the children and to take care of them like a factory. And when women start to surpass that situation, and she starts to study, she starts to refrain that of being just a baby factory. She wants to be a person. She wants to try to learn things and enjoy a part of this life, not just being a mother and being a baby factory, but actually to be something more in a better sense. Not that it's not useful to have children, don't misunderstand me, but to be more than just to be a mother. To learn, to be able to develop herself artistically or in many other things that before directly the women could not do that. So then, what is the solution which the Creator already has decided? The best solution is to dissolve all matrimonies, all the marriages. And in the new kingdom, the couples that want to stay together or want to be together, they can be together, but you have to dissolve everything first. And whatever that is left is actual couples, absolutely without the need or because of a commitment. Very well. So then that question has been answered. If you want more about the subject, there's been an entire subject, 2 subjects back to question number 2. The secret Gospel of Mark hints at the fact that Yeshua had a gay lover. Is it true? Well, if you've never read the secret Gospel of Mark, there's no need for you to go and look for it. First of all, I don't know whether, well, I'll dare to say that I can't say that that gospel is true. I mean, I just don't know whether it is or not, or that it was written with good faith, but maybe it is. What do I know? Who knows? Maybe it was written by some other guy later, but for some reason or another, there are many things in this life that would seem to be false, but they have an end goal. Maybe it is something that has been written because of true facts. There are many things in the Gospels that we accept as true that make no sense and are directly, I don't want to say a lie, but they're erroneous in the time and in the doing so, because amongst themselves they contradict each other. That is what takes place, that amongst themselves there's a contradiction between the four Gospels that we have. Now, this Gospel, and there's other Gospels too, I don't take them into account too much. I have read them, I have books. There's a book that grabs all the Apocrypha, but I read them just for fun. It doesn't give me too much. I'll read to you what the secret Gospel of Mark says about the question that this person is asking me. It reads as follows. Then they got to Bethany, and there was a woman to whom a brother had died. She came and bowed down before Christ and said, "Son of David, have pity on me." The disciples reprehended her, and Jesus, being annoyed, he walked with her to the place where the grave was found. And immediately there was a yell that came from the grave, and Jesus removed the stone that was at the entrance of the grave. It's talking about the resurrection of Lazarus, but in a different version in the secret book of Mark. Has anybody read this gospel, secret Gospel of Mark? Yeah, you did? No? And it was directed directly, well, where was it? Jesus removed the stone at the entrance, and he grabbed the young man by the hand and arose him and letting him go. And the young man looked at him and loved him and started to plead with him to allow him to go with him. In other words, the young man that he resurrected, that in this case we believe that it's Lazarus, it says that he looked at Jesus and fell in love with him. He loved him, he says. Let's say what it says there. He loved him. The young man looked at him and loved him. He started to plead with him that he would allow him to go with him. They came out of the tomb and they were directed to the house of the young man who was rich. Well, in this story, to tell the truth, I don't know if it's referring to Lazarus or a different story. This young man that Jesus just resurrected was rich, it says. He was rich. After 6 days, Jesus gave him something to do. Evidently, it's not Lazarus. It's a different story. After 6 days, Jesus gave him something to do. At night, the young man came to him with a linen cloth upon his naked body. That's kind of weird, huh? Of course, all the clothes are upon a naked body, but this one says that he had nothing, and only a linen cloth was covering him, and he didn't have any interior clothes. That's what he's saying. At night, that young man that had been resurrected and loved Jesus, it says that when the young man got there, he got to him with a linen cloth upon a naked body, upon his naked body. And he stayed with him the entire night. In other words, with his body, with the linen, naked, he stayed with him the entire night. And he was rich. It says he was rich. In what sense was he rich? But he was rich. And he stayed with him all night, so that Jesus were to teach him the mysteries of the kingdom of God. So then we don't know what mysteries he taught him about the kingdom of God. He came semi-naked, just covered with linen cloth. Apparently, it's not common, or else the people, it would never call the attention if the whole world would cover themselves with a linen and nothing else. It wouldn't call the attention of the detail, but it is written that that young man that loved Jesus when he was resurrected, Jesus told him to do something, and he came at night and he came back covered with a linen cloth. And he stayed with him all night alone, so that Jesus would teach him the mysteries of the kingdom of God. When the time came to leave, he returned to the other side of the Jordan. About this that I've just read, about the secret Gospel of Mark, everyone that reads this, and it's very well known, and there are times in which Jesus had a gay relationship. If this is true or not, it doesn't matter. Now, in the common Gospel of Mark, there's something that could be related with this. We're going to go to the common one. It's something that all of you have in your Bibles. Let's go to Mark chapter 14, 51 through 52. Reads as follows. Mark 14, 51 through 52. This was precisely when he was apprehended, when Yeshua was apprehended, and they were taking him to be judged that night where they apprehended him. But a certain young man followed him, having a linen cloth cast about his naked body. There you have it, the same scene. A linen cloth that could have been made out of silk. But why does it give that detail? That a young man was following Jesus, covered the body with a linen cloth. So then he wasn't dressed like all the rest. He was naked, and he had a linen cloth above. What a weird detail, right? But a certain young man followed him with the body covered. So then the soldiers that had apprehended Yeshua, they grabbed him because he was following him pretty like a stalker. So then it says, and they apprehended him, the soldiers did, to that young man. But he, leaving the linen cloth, he fled naked. That is in the Bible of every one of you. No one has an explanation of this. You'll never hear any explanation or who the young man was, why Mark talks about this, and what it has to do in this story. Some guy that followed Jesus in a linen cloth, the soldiers grab him, and they take off the linen, and he runs away naked. The story of Yeshua is weird. And as it turns out, Mark says that in the secret Gospel of Mark, if we combine both things, we see that it was that young man that stayed all night there discovering the secrets of the kingdom. Discovering the secrets of the kingdom. No, he was so in love with him that when they apprehended him, he was completely desperate. He was following him, and when they grabbed him, he was naked. The guy was actually naked, and he left running. I mean, it's so weird. It is just so weird. So then it is up to everyone's judgment, or it's the question whether Yahweh could have had a gay relationship. I'll tell you what I think. Absolutely, I think so. Because the laws about gay or heterosexual or whatever you want are in the scriptures. It was just a law to be reproduced. I've told you that the souls don't have sex. So then it was a law to be reproduced. And as it turns out, Yahweh did not come. He didn't come to fulfill with the commandments. Even if you read, he went to fulfill the commandments. No, he broke them. He would work on the Shabbat. He would make the Jews work in the Shabbat, his disciples. He would gather food in the Shabbat. And one that he healed, he made him carry things in the Shabbat that before the Torah. That is why he would have gotten stoned. So that he didn't come to be a perfect follower of the Torah. No, not in the very least. Not in the very least. So then, he also didn't come to get reproduced. Exactly. If he didn't come to reproduce, and it was more than sure, and I don't know. Now I'm saying things that could have happened or not. But it turns out, who gives us the right to speak about this is that he did not explain anything for us. He left the whole panorama there. Or else we can speak any stupid shit about him, because, as it turns out, he that does not speak allows. And any comment of ours is allowed. Could Yeshua have been gay? Absolutely. Did he have more of a reason to be gay than to be heterosexual? Because what if he left some girl pregnant and then a semi-god would get there? Who knows? He says, I'll incline myself towards men because we already know that John was the beloved. Were the others not loved? Yeah, but he was the beloved, the disciple that Jesus loved. But he didn't love the others? That John would lay on his chest. There's weird things, just weird things, very strange things that take place. Could have been homosexual completely. He could have been bisexual also, and it opens the panorama for what happened because there's also stories about him with Mary Magdalene. There's also stories of that type. So then the creator could have tried anything that happens with humans. Evidently. How ugly would it be to experience the human race and not to experience one of the things that we best have? That would have been a sad story. He was born human and he left a virgin, and some people laugh. Just imagine, he was born human, he had 30 years or 33, it doesn't matter how old he was. It was like 30, could have been older. Let's suppose minimum 33, and he left virgin. Didn't experience anything of what we experience. I personally don't believe, or else let him come and explain and to show us, because I don't believe that Yeshua left here virgin, even if more than one get here kind of starts to blush. No. He was a wolf. It's a good representation. I don't believe that Yeshua left as a virgin from here. It would have been a very stupid experience. Very well. That is what I believe. And if he has a difference with me, let him come and explain it to us. We'll gladly, if we see images in video, because also we're not going to believe the father of lies for sure. We have to see everything that he's done. So then there is the answer. Is it true? I don't know if it's true. I believe that it is. That the guy did everything in this life. Left and right. He said, he that does not gather with me, he spreads. I don't know what he meant with that, or if you know what he tried to say with that, but he says that's the way it is. He says, my yoke is easier to gather than others. Many things that we can take either way, exactly. He offered the water, and he said, whoever wants to have life, there was water. Where did the water come from? It's going to come from his water, because he says it's from his interior. Actually, it's from his intestine or from his kidney. And how does the water come from the kidney? There's only one place. It's not that water comes from. There's no other places. Come and drink my water that I'll give you. We have water that specifically comes from it, and this is that water. And maybe this guy, like John, also loved it, and maybe John drank from that water and he lived from the rest. I don't know. There are many things to explain. Many things he has to explain. Very well. Question number 3. To sum up, I don't think that the Creator came and left as a virgin, because to me, he's not a virgin, and he came here to experience what we experience. And everything that some experience, what others experiences all the rest. And he became trans also. He also transfigured. We have everything, all the experience that he's had. 3. Question number 3. Well, this question, I'm not sure if I should read it entirely. I'll read it entirely. It's kind of long. I've answered many things already, but I want to be. It's semi-answered. It's semi-answered, but I'd like to highlight some things. First, I'll read it entirely. Christian, about virginity. It's been a long time that I have had not relationships, and that entrance seals up again. I know it's a need, and I'd like to do bodily exercises. I know you keep the privacy. of those who write to you. I am trying to have a partner, but there's one that only comes once a year, and it's been 7 years that I know him personally, and he was surprised because the last time he came, he found me way too close. He said I was like a virgin, but aside from everything that it implies, it says that for him, that has been worth a lot, and that he will never find someone like that. Either way, I think that for me is like casting the pearls to the pigs, and like as women, we have a value that no one can understand, only us. Even more now that I know who I am. Anyway, that's the question. It's already been answered at length, but let's highlight certain things. In this question, it's been a year and a couple months. It's not a question from now. It's an old question. So then it says, Christian, about virginity, it's been a long time that I have not had relations, and that entrance seals up. No, it doesn't seal up because it's never been sealed up. Let's start with that. So then I understand that there's the expression, I'm very careful, and I teach you to be careful what words you use to be precise. In other words, that entrance has never been sealed. And that entrance cannot under any aspect be sealed. If you want try to say closed, that's fine, but let's use the right words. So then that entrance seals itself up, but no, it doesn't close up again. I want to make that very clear. It never again closes up. First of all, it's never been closed, but if you want to say that it's the hymen that closes up a bit and it gives the impression that with many years it could become a virgin, no. What happens is that atrophy. I want you to understand it very well. Here comes the first concept for women. If you want to take it, and if you don't want to, that's fine. But I'll answer. That entrance is a muscle. It's a muscle and nothing else other than a muscle. Those muscles, those that are not used, there is atrophy. Like in English, that says use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. If I get a cast in my hand or my leg, it's been 30 days. Like I've already when they operated me, the meniscus. It's 30 days, and the atrophy of the leg. It would seem that it becomes nothing. You have a leg like this, and the other like this. You said, where did all the muscle mass went to? Incredible. If you have had clay someday, it's incredible. It gets reduced to nothing, to nothing. You can't even stay up. You have to rehabilitate it little by little so that the fibers start to take elasticity and strength, because you either use it or lose it. Either you lose it or lose it. It's as simple as that. It's not that you lose it forever, but generally it is unused and the body starts to eat it up, and it's reduced, and then later, in order for it to come back to its size, there's lots of exercise and lots of time. What has taken me to re-establish my knee was more painful than anything else, to move it to a certain point and to be able to move it again forward and backwards. For me, it was such a pain. The rehab was without any type of remedies for pain, because it made no sense. I had to withstand the pain, and it wouldn't stretch because they had operated me from the ligament, and it was left per se like new, very tight. So then the knee for 45 days was closed like that in a cast. When they took the cast out, it wouldn't move at all. So then the rehab was for me to move it here and move it there. And every day I could advance just a little more, but the pain of stretching it little by little, and not like a beast, because you'll break it, and to stretch it and take it and again, what a pain, until everything comes back to its natural movement, and then you can rehabilitate it. That's why a soccer player, and since I come from, I'm not a professional soccer player, but a professional soccer player, it takes a whole year. I mean, it's not crazy, a whole year. and it doesn't stay like always. Why? Because there is a fear right in the psyche that you're gonna break it again. It failed once, and you don't trust the knee ever again. You don't trust in it again. You don't trust in it because you think that it broke once, and it's as if you lose the confidence. And if you do recuperate, it takes a long time. That what happened to Ceballos, that he's playing in Boca. He had two very serious injuries. There was one in the crossed one, and the other one I can't remember what it was. And every time he went back to the field, he wasn't the same player. He's still not the same player because he was a fantastic player. But once you get ruined, you lose the confidence. You don't go quickly with the same confidence if you don't have the 100% full of what you're going to do. You're not the same player. You're a player that just look at Cavani. Cavani, because he doesn't want to get injured. Cavani would throw himself before. He would just be doing kind of like the Chilean kind of kicks. Now he knows that he would break his entire body. It's not the same thing. That's what happens. Okay, so then it's been a long time that I have not had sex, and that entrance seals up. No, it does not seal up. And you, as women, whether you have a couple, let's suppose that you've had sex already. I'm not gonna go and talk about any young girls or anything. Women, I'm talking about women that have had sexual partners. What should you do? Wait till you have another couple, 6 months, a year, 3 years, or to use the muscle? Well, my answer is to use the muscle, and as the more that you can, how? With different types of things that simulate what the man would give you. Why? Because it's good for your body, your psyche. And you know what happens when that muscle goes into atrophy? Women sometimes lose the urinary control, and they get to 50, 60 years, and they urinate themselves. They have to use a diaper. You know what the solution is? That it's the Kegel exercises, which is the introduction of some sort of toy per se, a toy, and to flex the muscle that is completely not sealed, but it's not been used, and to flex and to press for 1 second, 5 seconds, until you feel it, and once you feel it, it starts to react. The whole muscle structure is not just one muscle, it is that muscle. Also, it includes other muscles, which are those that hold up the large intestine. When that muscle falls, and it could be that maybe after birth, it is fundamental that after that birth they do that exercise, because it relaxes so much that it could go into atrophy. So then part of the large intestine that falls, since there's no muscle that holds it up, it falls off, and it literally falls off. And it presses upon the bladder, and there is no continence, and they have incontinence. And that happens to so many women. It is very common, what I'm saying. So then one of the ways that it never happens to you is that exercise, that muscle, that you make it exercise, that you flex it. Not just because of the physical part of what I'm telling you, not just because of the physical part, but your mental also, because women have to utilize the muscles. She has to use them. So then it is the most abnormal thing that exists for a woman that has had a partner, and then later she doesn't have a partner, and that she leaves that unused. She has to continue to use it with a man or without a man. She has to use it. So then the question already is wrong, because psychologically women, they are affected, but physiologically also. Did you know that when women, I want to talk about women, okay, men also, when they get to the climax, many things are produced in the brain, many chemicals that help to the mental health of women. Once I recommended the movie that they made here in the U.S. that was called Hysteria. Until I watched that movie, I didn't know where the term hysteria came from. Why do they call them hysterical women? Hysterical women, it's a mental condition and an alteration of women that are very nervous. They can't stand anything. They're very much altered. And so what was discovered that it only takes by making her have orgasms, she would lose all the hysteria. So then when they say you hysterical woman, first of all, it is one that is not using what she has to use. So then in the movie that we saw, you remember about hysteria, the doctor would make a medical handling with the fingers, would place her on the bed, and the women would come hysterical, and they were so relaxed after that. What did the doctor do? Well, he would caress them until they would get, I don't want to use words, that maybe he would caress her, and she would go to heaven and come back, and then they would come out. They'd be excellent. Then they wanted to see the doctor very often. The term hysterical comes from that precisely. So then a woman should not let the opportunity pass of self-satisfaction. I mean, don't even mention it. I mean, it goes way past. It goes way past what you even think. For their physique, for their muscles, for their psyche, their spirituality. What is the only thing that holds women back from that? Religion. What they taught you in religion, and for you to feel dirty, for you to feel that you are a prostitute. It is the only thing that makes women hold back and to close that stage in their life, and for her to say no. Either I have a couple or I'm closed. No, you're wrong. You're close to life. So then, that hole, how it says that entrance should be super muscle, filled with lots of muscle. And what I'm going to say now, you can take it, I mean, completely wrong. Like you can also take it, well, like good information, either well or wrong, or right or wrong. There's another entrance that when the people grow old, listen well to what I'm about to say, when women, as the age augments at 50, 60, it's like, it seals up, it crystallizes more, and it brings all types of problems. And you might say, what is the other? You perfectly well know what the other entrance is. What the other entrance is. But actually, it's an exit. The neighbor, it's an exit. Yeah, but Minto's laughing, but this problem involves men a lot. Because as long as the most rigid the men are in mind and religion, the muscle becomes more rigid. There comes a point in which they have problems to go to the bathroom because it hurts, because they lose the flexibility. And did you know that older people, that as they grow all the muscles, they lose their flexibility? Well, that one, what the anus is, it loses its flexibility. There comes a point in which they have lots of problems with pain, and they have to go to the doctor. And the doctor either has to cut or has to make them do exercise. Did you know what the exercises are? Also for women, but men, the same thing. It's like the Kegel exercises. So start with small things because it becomes rigid. And if they want to open it by force, it breaks, it rips open. If you don't use it, you don't use it. I mean, it is the muscle. It's also that part of that entrance is a muscle. It's a muscle. So then, the closed mind also closes that muscle. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. Because you know that our mind guides that. So then if the mind is very well closed, do you remember all these men when we taught them, many men, when we taught them to do animas, the men didn't want anything to know about animas. It's a no. I mean, that mind is precisely the one that makes that to be closed, and then later it becomes a problem that sometimes it requires surgery. And through that problem, also a whole bunch of problems directed with that come about. So then what is the solution? The same thing as women. I'm giving you the solution that the doctors do now, before operating. They give them different sizes of different types of toys. It starts with the smallest one, and it has to be introduced in man. And she has to hold the pain And then once he gets used to that size, then a bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, because that muscle that has been crystallized and rigid expands. And for the matter that we're casting out, it wouldn't cost them anything to come out. I want you to understand something. My mom, in her ignorance, when I was little, she would tell me, women that have anal sex later have to use a diaper. My mom would tell me that. I think she believed it. Poor lady. We come from a culture that is more ancient than ours, and this is the women that have anal sex then later have to use diapers because it doesn't close. Notice the mentality of ignorance. It doesn't close. It's all the contrary to that. It's all the contrary to that. It is elastic. You can make it bigger to whatever size, and then it relaxes and it closes. In fact, you can practice it so that more than one is closed than one that doesn't do anything, because through those toys you can flex it and the muscle gets an elasticity huge like this to very, very much closed. And the one that is crystallized per se is rigid. So then you can't even move it this way or open it. So then there's all types of problems to go to the bathroom, even more lethal ones. I'm telling you because people are embarrassed about that, and they, not just those things, they have fissures, loss because it opens, it rips apart. They don't even know the problems that takes place. You don't believe me? Look it up online. The men that have been very much closed in their mind, they have to open their mind. They have to open their mind. So then a guy that has an open mind, he flexes all the muscles per se. He says not just with this, with that too. Why? Because he doesn't want to have that type of problem. But as it so happens that in this mind of ours, as Christian and religious, and on this side where we live, we think that anything there makes you gay. There's no turn of the page. Even an enema makes you gay. Anything there makes you gay. If there's caresses or whatever, it makes you gay. If someone tries to do something, oh, she's violating your masculinity. Violating, you can't touch it, because if they touch you, they're touching your center of masculinity, and if they open that to you, then now you're gay, and there's no turn of the page. No turn of the, even if you laugh, that's the way it is, the mind that we have. But if I were to tell you that clinically speaking, we should exercise all the muscles, but our mind that is closed, it happens the same with women. So then those entrances, you have to flex them. That's what I have to tell you. You have to flex them, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's a barbarity or not. I could care less what you think. I'll tell you for your own good. And the Messiah understood well when he came here. I've already told you the stories that he came back from the secret. He was flexing those entrances well with John and with the naked guy. Apparently, those types of problems the Messiah didn't have that. But make that not be your problem. Your closed mind not block you and ruin your body. All of our body is ours. And like my grandma would say, every type does a vase of flowers with their ass. It says everyone with their ass, they can make a vase. And that's it. It's over. Anyone does whatever they want. I mean, I want you to understand. You're all looking at me weird. You have to start to practice. This is you too? Yes, you too, Ale. He's laughing. They're all laughing. That's the way it is. It's use it or lose it. Use it or lose it, and that's it. It's over. It's as simple as that. Very well. So then I'll read. I've already been answering the questions. It's been a long time that I haven't had relations, and it seals up again. It's wrong. It has to be flexible, the greatest possible. One more thing that I wanted to tell you. Did you know that there are many doctors and projects that are not very common, but then you can look them up online, that try to see whether a pregnant woman per se, and with lots of time, they could start to dilate and dilate and dilate. So then they started, aside from all the types of dildos and all the rest, the big ones that exist, they invented one that goes in and it starts to expand with air. It starts to expand with air, expand, 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 already in, to expand all the part of the vagina and to give access to the baby. Did you know that when there comes a point of expansion, has to be slow and everything's slow, these women have had a painless birth and without any type of assistance of chemicals. It is marvelous. It is all about the muscles. I cannot flex like certain contortionists do it, but when they see that they can, if we were to practice that like a contortionist, we could do it, right? There's a secret. So can you do it or not? You can. We don't have the patience or the urge to do that, but if a woman can flex her muscles so that she can have painless children, and that head doesn't rip everything apart, because naturally the head of the baby is an opening that we're talking about is like this, so it means that a woman should open up like that. Is that what? And if he got a huge head, if he has a huge head, then even huge, even more huge. But if women prepare herself with months, little by little, with the training, so then it can open up like this and to have the baby without pain. And you say, what a marvel! It is practice. The muscle allows it, because evidently we have been designed for the baby to come out. Then everything hurts, because of course I want to flex it and I flex it. I want to flex a muscle that's never been flexed, and of course it becomes a disaster in the muscle. Well, that disaster that is produced in women and the terrible pain, it is because they've never used it before. Do you see what I'm saying? And do not make a mistake that even if a woman relaxes her muscles to this size, it does not mean that it stays like that, like my mom says. It means that with the practice you can close it even more than one that does not practice. Why? Because the muscle not just dilates, but it contracts. So then you gain strength, lots of strength. And generally, women that practice this that I'm saying, that goes way past of maybe what you knew, they start to practice in the relations, the strength, and men does enjoy it a lot, because she, in the climax that she has, or when she wants it, she presses the member of the man strongly, and men love that. It's not something, it's not just that it just goes in like a dead flesh. No, it doesn't have to be that way. A woman could have control of vibrations, of strength. So then if you have a husband that has something smaller, you can make him feel a bit, you feel it, and the men to feel it also, because women can learn to flex that, to let go and flex, and to let go and quickly, those things. And men too. Men, one of the exercises that I could tell you and recommend for you to do is precisely the muscle that closes the anus. It's the muscle that the man has to practice to have his viral vitality stronger. How do you practice this? Out of nothing. You can be working, you can be watching TV or doing whatever, and you start to close it. To start to flex the muscle. It's the same muscle that when you go to urinate and they want to stop the stream goes like this. You have to do it 1,000 times over until you get to that you can't even move. Until you can't even move it. When you can't even move it, you lose the sensibility. You start to close it, close it, close it, close it, close it. Look at the questions that I have to answer, but I'm teaching you. This is wisdom and discipline. It is part of wisdom and discipline to close it and open it, close it and open it, close it and open it, close it and open it. Do it until you can't move it anymore, and you want to close it, nothing happens. It's like the muscle just becomes dumb. It fortifies the whole base of the penis, and in the moment of the sexual relations, that force is translated to a force that is a lot even bigger than other people than most of the people. Then, not just that is the exercise, then you have to learn to close it and to count the more that you can. 20 seconds, 30 seconds without letting it go until it lets go on its own, because you can't close it. And you have to close it with flex it really hard, and you start with 10 seconds and let go. 10 seconds and let go. 10 seconds until you can't do it again, and then you go to 20 seconds. And to hold it like that, try it. Hold it. Is that how you say it? And don't let go. That in a sexual relation, when you are in the game, it gives you a lot more potency and control. Control of being able to finishing or not, for example. It's so many things that you have to practice the muscles. We shouldn't just leave them like that. We have to practice until they become dumb. So then they gain such a strength. Women too, the same exercise until they feel. What are the Kegel exercises? And the people, do you know when the women do this exercise? When they have incontinence, that is when they do it. Instead of doing it before, no, all of you go and buy, women, I recommend the eternal truth, go and buy sets. So you use one at the entrance, and you have to leave it there used. You go and you cook with that. You put your interior clothes in, and while you're cooking, you flex it and you let it go. You flex and you let go. You flex and you let go. When that's very dominated, you grab a bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, like the dreams, and you flex it. It's not just leaving it there. That doesn't do anything. You have to strengthen, try to break it. Do something, an exercise. You're just watching TV like idiots, and like some people were asking me, like they said, that entrance seals back up. It shouldn't be sealed. It should be completely exercised. So then those are the Kegel exercises. The whole muscle mass has to close. You sell all types of things are sold. They're not even considered sexual toys. Just write down Kegel exercises. Kegel. You'll find from the smallest ones for the novices to the bigger ones to the experts. You have to get to be an expert. Your body will thank you. Your husband will thank you. The most important is that you'll thank yourself. That's the most important thing. And you start to do that, and you'll never lose the control over urine ever again. You'll have orgasms that are a lot stronger. Even to top it off that, I mean, I can't give you the whole list of benefits. So then I read this question, and it's like, oh, I have to answer them. And it says, okay. She says, I know you keep the privacy. Well, okay, we read that. I'm trying to get a couple, but there's only one that comes a month. It says, well, this is crazy. If your couple tells you, what I value the most of you is how tight you are. That's the last day, and the last thing he said, you kick him in the ass, or in a more Argentinian way, you kick him right in the rectum, and you send him off to shit somewhere else. Oh, that's what you care about me? That I was so tight because of not using it. Why don't you fuck off to your mother's cunt? If a man says, what I value about you is that you're tight in this use, and that makes me feel, he says that for him that has been of high value. Okay, then you are of no value to me, and that he will never find anyone like that. Anyway, okay, tremendous. That's a motive to tell him to fuck off. The only thing that he can value is that you're a woman that are exceptional for him, but not because, I mean, wow, impressive. So the truth, this is nauseous. That guy is nauseous. I advise you that whoever asked me this, tell him to fuck off. Okay, it says that I think that for me is like throwing the pearls to the pigs. I think she understands this. And that as women, we have a value that no one will be able to understand, only us. Yes, of course. There's men that we do understand that a woman's value is not there. To more experience, more value. A virgin has no value. Just like that, no value. Like I've already told you, a virgin is of no value. Nothing that is a virgin is of any value. There's no experience there. Anyway, having answered that question, and all the entries, let them not be sealed, and start to exercise them. Both men and women. Both of them the same. Both of them. Before it's too late. My other question, she asked me two things. My other question, whether if you would marry a man of the same gender or women with women. Okay, I'll read it all. My other question is whether or not you would marry men of the same gender or women with women. In my point of view, yes. But if those people desire to be there in the studies, what would happen? Would you allow them certain things when there's kids there? I don't think you would allow it. Or what would you do about it? I believe that you wouldn't do it. She asks and she answers also. And I think I can even hear you. Ha ha ha. Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Okay. Right. See, the thing is that I don't want to marry anyone anymore. Let's start with that. I no longer want to marry anyone. Right, of course. Right. I have no power, civil power. I don't marry anyone. I just give him a blessing. Exactly, just a blessing. Now, I don't, well, it's not that I won't, but I don't want to give anyone the blessing now. Doesn't mean that I won't, if you ask me. This question is very difficult for me to answer because I think that we're still not prepared for that. The answer should say yes. There's no difference between men and women, but since we're still in this stage, and I respect the stages, like I also respect the stages of growth of the children, of the youth, of the adults, we have to respect the stages. I respect the stage of creation, and in this stage of creation, I think that the couples have to be heterosexual. I respect them. We're still not done with this stage of creation, so then we shouldn't burn the stages. It would be difficult for me to marry a man with a man because it's not the adequate time. It's as if to say two kids when I get married. A child of a boy and a girl. I said, no, you have to wait. And so those couples of men and women, I have to tell them you have to wait. It's not the right moment. I believe that in the new world, there is nothing that would impede it because there's no marriage. What there will be is free union. They don't need anyone's blessing, but right now it's not the moment. So then I personally, even if I am in agreement and I understand that love has nothing to do with sex or gender, and I accept it, I think that it's not the moment of officially to marry. There's no need. And also there's no need of a blessing. Right, of course. And it wouldn't bother me for people that are in a couple, and the eternal truth to be in a couple right there, it doesn't bother me. Nor are we going to, exactly, it doesn't bother me. If there's two women or two men together and say we're a couple, I'm not going to get into that. But also don't ask me to give you a blessing because we're not in the moment. Do you understand what I'm saying? It makes no sense for any blessing, and that's what happens. And I also don't even want to give a blessing to regular couples. I don't want to, because we're already ending that stage. And if they were to have to come here, I have no problem for them to come here, tell the truth. Right there, maybe you're wrong in the answer. See, the thing is that here, I don't allow anyone to come here. Let's say that somewhere here in the group turns around, let's suppose that, not because of that would I kick them out, let's suppose that anyone here says they change and then now they're different. We understand things differently. I wouldn't tell them, don't come here anymore. No. I would allow them to come here. Why no one knew is because those are decisions that I've taken some time ago, and actually I want to keep it very small because we're in this stage. Later it'll get bigger, evidently it'll be the whole world. Right now I want to keep it small, but in the case that new people were to come. I have no problem for gay couples to come here. Right there, in that, I would allow it to marry them. Don't ask me for the blessing. Very well. Having entered that question, before answering number 4, let's see how many are watching. How many likes are there? There's 177 viewers, 165 likes. Okay, almost everyone gave us a like. If somebody forgot, you can give us a like now. And after the video, remember to comment. Those who have liked or shocked or not, it's a very valuable information which I'm giving you, clinically speaking, and the rest. Very well. So then I've already told you to give them the blessing makes no sense, but to allow them to come here, I would not have any problem, not the children or anything. 4. Last question. Oh, but this one's complicated, but oh well, here goes. Last question. Hello, Christian. It is difficult for me to believe that resurrection exists, and the motive is as follows. In the Bible, resurrections were of bodies that were recently dead. In other words, there was always a body or a corpse. It never tells us about someone dead out of nothing. Like all or most of them are there. How can I believe in resurrection out of the blue? This torments me. Well, this question for me is extremely excellent. I love this question. Good thing is that I don't know the answer. That's also good. I don't know the answer, but there are things that are highly difficult to believe in. One of those is resurrection. It is very difficult to believe in the resurrection. I looked, but I decided not to bring him here. I looked for every example where there's resurrection in the Bible. And every last one of them was about when there was a body there that died that day, or the previous day. Elijah, Elisha, others who were resurrected. That of Lazarus 4 days, Yeshua 3 days, all of them, and those who Yeshua resurrected, one that had just died, the son of another that had also died, and they were with them, but always there was a body, in a body that has not been decomposed. There's another weird story that one touched the tomb and someone resurrected. And then there's a story where the disciple says that 500 people resurrected. Tell the truth, it is difficult for me to believe that anybody resurrected. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But let's suppose that people did resurrect. Always when there were bones, as the tombs were opened when Yeshua resurrected, something that's difficult for me to believe because it makes no sense. Where the tombs were open when Yeshua resurrected, they come out of the tombs, not out of nothing, out of the tombs. You understand what I'm saying? So then those tombs that had the bones there, at least those bones revived. And then there's no more examples. No other dead person shows up resurrected. Maybe you think about the transfiguration where it says here's Elijah and Moses. It was not Elijah and Moses. They didn't even have the capacity of recognizing Elijah and Moses. And Elijah and Moses were dead and they did not resurrect. It was a vision which they saw, a vision. They were not real. So then, is there an example in the Bible of resurrection out of nothing? No, there isn't. It's always from remains. So then, of course it's difficult to believe. It really took me a long time to believe that. It's a concept that's so of science fiction. How can resurrection come about? Well, I actually don't know, but I'll tell you what I think, what I believe. So then what I say could be science fiction for you, but it is what I believe that takes place in resurrection. You don't have to take my words as if they were an actual science, but for me it's the only way that this could take place. Because I also don't believe. It's very easy to fix it and just say, no, God creates out of nothing, and out of nothing itself, He creates a body and resurrects it. No, that's too easy, too simple, too simplistic. There has to be a science behind it. I do believe that God can create out of nothing. The Bible says so. But that question is too simplistic. God does everything. God does everything. It isn't so. There is science. God does things with science. So then, out of the few things that the Bible tells us about resurrection, there are some texts that are very highly symbolic. But I will interpret them of what I believe. And I believe that it is, or it makes you understand the way. Okay. This is found in Revelation 20, 11 through 15. This is absolutely hyper mega symbolic, but I want you to pay attention to these words. Revelation 20, 11 through 15. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. Well, you already know, and you've heard me say this before. Evidently, the one sitting in the throne is the representation of the Messiah, the new God. It's not God the Creator, it's the new God. He's sitting in a throne of justice. White represents justice and all the rest. And that heaven and earth fled away from him, it is what John's seen. That all of a sudden, it would seem that the earth and heaven flees away, the sea flees away, and he sees a scene in the midst of nothing. I interpret that as if they are in a space or a different time of what John understands. You don't see the earth or anything he recognizes. It would seem to be a different dimension per se. I want you to understand that it would seem to be that they're in something parallel. I'm not saying a parallel world, but I'm saying at least a dimension that's different. Unknown to him. That's why the earth or the heaven doesn't flee anyway, but the scene that he sees, it's as if he's not there. He's in a space where there's no heaven or earth. That is what he's trying to show you. He says it's something I don't recognize, that they're in a very strange environment. That's why it says that from whose face the earth and heaven fled away. So it's a different dimension. Pay attention. And I saw the dead, small and great, standing before God, that's the new God. The books were opened. Okay, I want to stop there. And I saw the dead, great and small. The whole Christian world, because the Jews don't even read these texts before starting this, before advancing to this, the Jews believe that when a person is cremated, they can no longer be resurrected ever again. For them, to cremate a body, in other words, to set it on fire and destroy it completely, means the destruction of that person eternally. A complete insanity that they believe, because everyone interprets the Bible however they want. So then they say that resurrection is starting from the remains. That's why you have to bury them and keep the tomb. What happens with those that have been eaten by fish in the sea? What happens with the 6 million? You know what I'm saying? 6 million less. Even if it's all true and 6 million less. That is pretty bad, isn't it? Well, it would seem to be something, poetically speaking, ironical. Precisely those that believe that cremation destroys the person and the soul, they're very wrong. Precisely, it happened to them that about the oven, but that is not so true. But oh well, whatever. We'll you know, concede about the story about the hollow. It's a bad interpretation, a lie. So then I'll read on. And I saw the dead. And here, all the Christians make a mistake, at least the Christians of the branch where I was brought up in. They always tell me that the dead are dead that are resurrected. I've explained this already, you'll remember. And it isn't so. You've got the dead before God. It's not the resurrected, they're still dead. It's not that he resurrects them all like they taught me in Christianity. He resurrects them all. And so then, but they're no longer dead. Once Lazarus resurrected, I can't call him, and the dead guy was standing before Jesus. No, you understand what I'm saying? The dead guy is dead, and the one that's resurrected is no longer dead. But it says here that the dead were standing before God. It doesn't say that the dead were resurrected before God. Pay attention to the words. And I saw the dead. He saw the dead. No, not those that had recently been resurrected. No, they're still dead when he sees them. They're not alive. Pay attention to what I'm saying. Because from here I can elaborate the answer that I'll give you. And I saw the dead, small and great. Small and great? It's not just in size, but also in importance. People that are great and people that are small. Actors in this life, but it could also be in size, whatever, children, huge people. Huge people. I saw the dead, but they're still dead, mind you. I saw the dead, great and small, standing before God. The dead are standing, the dead are standing, they're not alive. In that dimension, mind you, he doesn't see them in the New Jerusalem, in a mountain. No, he sees them in a world that he does not recognize. That's why it's so important. Well, this book of Revelation is for the Messiah only. The rest can, of course, the Adventists not going to understand the thing. They imagine a scene that God resurrects them all. Once he resurrects everybody, he kills them again. That's what they taught me. He resurrects them all to kill them again, to laugh a little bit about them, and then once again, back into the lake of fire. It doesn't explain to you how the text begins. I saw a great white throne. It means it is something, what could I say? It's kind of like a big, huge throne. I'll translate it. I saw like a huge justice court. It doesn't have to be a throne. It could be a whole bunch of thrones, but this is symbology. A big white throne is a great court of justice, and the one sitting upon it, before whose face the heaven and earth fled away. It says they passed on to a dimension that is unknown to me, because for me it was completely unknown. It's as if they were almost in the air, what John saw, in order for him to write it, and for it to be left highly sealed, and that it would seem what it is not, and what it is this. They're in a different dimension. It's not this dimension. In a different dimension. What does it mean to be in a different dimension? Well, for example, I'm going to tell you what it is to be in a different dimension, or an example like unto it. You can keep pictures and videos and things like this, which is a memory. That memory, you can't access to it by opening it or anything. You have to utilize an apparatus that can use that and can read that. In the meantime, you can't. It's so abstract, the pictures are, that are there in a mode of binary code 0101011110, whatever. There's no pictures though. It is not in pictures. It is in as a code, as information that you can't read. If you were to break into it, you would ruin everything, but you could not read it. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not that you open the memory and you see the little pictures there. No, it's an information. In that aspect, it's another dimension. It's not our dimension. It's a dimension that videos and pictures are recorded in something that we don't even comprehend, electronically speaking. How is that information recorded there, and how is it that it can be recuperated? If we don't understand that, imagine that John, if we wanted to explain to John what Memory is a rigid one. A rigid memory. Explain to John what it is. If he doesn't even know what a computer is, a rigid memory and a hard drive, and that it can keep videos or me speaking. I don't understand what I'm saying. That's another dimension. It's just magic. It's something of God. You understand what I'm saying? For us, it's so normal. It's like, where is this one? What do you call this? The USB drives. Where is it? More than a USB. It's a USB. Whatever, one of those things. Any of those things. But you understand how the pictures are there? If you were to open it and break it, do you see the little pictures? You see the videos? And if you don't have a reader, can you read it? No. It's a different dimension. It is kept in a different way. Now, once you read it, you reproduce the video, the audio, the sound, the images. You say, that's incredible. You can even project them, depending how you see them. A pen drive, that is the word that I was looking for. A pen drive. That's the word I was looking for. Pen drive. A pen drive. So then, how do we explain John or whomever of others that don't understand anything of electronics of other times? What's a pen drive? That it's in a computer. Anything, it's out of their reach. It is out of their reach. How? It is stored in a pen drive. We can understand it through. It doesn't matter. It's out of our reach. If we don't have a computer to read it, we won't read it ever again. So then, this text, what it says, is that before him fled heaven and earth, and no place was found for them. It's a dimension unknown to John and unknown to us. In that dimension, the Messiah sits, which is a court of justice, and he can make the dead stand before him. They're still dead. They're not in the real world. They're in a dimension which God, whether it's the God creator or the new God that comes, can see. In fact, he can speak with them in a different dimension without even the dead knowing. But since they are kept in a dimension, in order to access into that dimension, you have to access a place that only God can access, not the rest of humanity. That's why it says heaven and earth fled away. It's got nothing to do with the physical part that we recognize. It is a spiritual dimension that exists. Of course it exists. And that there, the dead can stand up. I'll read on. And I saw, because he was taken to that dimension, and I saw the dead, they're not alive. I want to highlight that. I saw the dead, great and small, standing before God. That God is the new God. And here comes something which is fundamental to what I believe. And the books were opened, and another book was opened. Okay. The books were opened. Evidently, the only way of writing something and of registering something in the time of John was by writing things in a book. There was no other way of writing. There was no cameras. There was not even microphones or something to record the voice. There was no other way of registering something if it wasn't through a book. Nothing else. So then how does Yahweh show this to John? Through the way in which he knows of how the things are registered. Now, we don't register the acts only in books. We register them in cameras, TV cameras, in all types of things, which is a lot more important than a book, because you're seeing what's happening. And the more, because one thing is to read how a game turned out in a book, another thing is by seeing it, right? So then if Yahweh were to show to John any other thing, he wasn't going to understand, or he wasn't going to be able to write. He says, what I saw, no eye has seen, and no ear has heard, so I don't know what the fuck that is. But since he shows us the book, he says, oh look, the books are opened, and they're going to read the acts, the data that's in the book. Okay, in that dimension that I'm saying, there's no books. There is a system that is way more than books. It's a system of data recording. We have a system of recording that's way superior to what a book is now. Just imagine out of the dimension that John is speaking about, or the message that the Creator's trying to give us, because the message is for us. He's saying, look, the dead are in a different dimension. They don't have any conscience, but they can stand. You can have a dialogue with them, and you can see all of their memory. All of their memory. That's why it says, in the books were opened. The books of every person, everything they've done, not just what has been written in a book. I've always imagined a little angel writing, today, Christian did this and that, and he did this wrong, let's suppose, and this date he did this, and then this person did well. That is what they told me. There was an angel that was looking at me and it was writing everything that I did. No. We're talking about something else. We're talking about a complete registry, completely detailed of every second of my life. That is what's registered in a book, which is a book, a very digital book. And the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And they were judged, the dead, due to the things that were written in the books according to their works. John is seeing that and he's thinking that what is happening there. So then they were judged. The dead were, the dead. They're not alive, they're dead. They made me believe that they were alive, but they're dead. Yeah, the dead were judged due to the things that were written in the books according to their works. And the sea handed over the dead that were in him. In that dimension, he sees that those that are dead, that their bodies were there or nothing, the sea are there. They're there. They're standing with their whole body. And death, in Hades, death is the grave. The Hades is the grave, and the tomb is the disintegration, maximum disintegration of what happens. Something that doesn't exist anymore than the Hades. Yeah, the Hades is the physical grave. Death and Hades handed over the bodies that were therein. John has to see that to understand that in that dimension everyone has a body. And just as they ended up in Hades, in a complete separation, which is death, or the ocean, the water. So then that in John's mind, it says, all those who died in the sea, those who died eaten by animals or whatever, and those who are in a grave, all of them, they return, those bodies return to this dimension that I'm seeing, where heaven and earth do not exist. I want you to understand this because it's very important. But he sees them just as they are, or how they were. As they were given to the sea, that's how he sees that the sea hands them back. Those who were handed over to death, that is how they are handed back. And those who were handed into the grave or the Hades, that is how they're handed over. They handed over the dead that were therein. But he hands them over dead, not alive. I want you to see this. It's all symbolism. And they were judged, everyone, according to their words, and they're still dead. But the one that is checking all the cases is the new God. And death and Hades, death, nothing itself, this complete disintegration, the non-existence, and the grave, they were cast into the lake of fire. In other words, in a symbolism, they were exterminated. Both death, the non-existence, as the grave. No more. They don't exist anymore. This is the second death, which already will not be experienced anymore, that non-existence and that death of the grave. And the one that was not found in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Of course, that is what John sees. It takes place that the Messiah in the book of life has life for everyone. And he's seen in what order he's going to resurrect them and how he'll resurrect them according to what they did, according to what's convenient in the time that's convenient and all the rest. That is the judgment, and to know what they did, every last one of them. It doesn't mean that they're being judged so that, either I resurrect you or I send you into the lake of fire. It isn't so. He's judging them to know the order of their apparition and to know clearly what they did, every last one of them. So that out of just by seeing them, they already know their history. That is what it is. And death, if it is taken to complete extermination, no more death. Death is death. Death is killed. Death is dies, and if death dies, there's no more death because death is dead. And therefore, there's no more cemeteries, no more graves. But this text that exactly is symbolic, to me, it clearly opens the spectrum of what resurrection is. We are, well, everything that I'm about to say is what I think. Based on what I've just seen, which is an instruction for the Messiah, that John is taken to a dimension, unknown dimension, unknown to him, that is not part of earth, heaven or earth. It's a dimension aside from that, apart, where only God can access into it. That's where he can see the dead. That's where he can judge the dead. There he can access into the book of their acts. So then it means many things. That in a place, in a dimension, the dead are just as they went into the grave. The grave is sane, okay? It could be in the midst of the sea, the fire, whatever. And there also everything they've experienced. The books are open. Do you understand what I'm saying? And my conclusion is this. We're all connected to that dimension. All of us. Our conscience is here and is there. It's not that we have to recuperate it from here. No. From all of us, there is an exact copy in a different dimension. And everything which we live, see, everything, absolutely everything is registered. Everything which is our body, an exact body, an exact copy is made, but an exact one, it's not a copy actually, but it's a duality which I propose. What is done here is done there. In other words, we are, per se, living in this reality and the other one also. The other one, we're not conscious of it, but there is a communication, and sometimes in the dreams there can be some sort of strange things that we see, but our reality is here and it's in that dimension. And what we're here is being left registered entirely in the other dimension, in that dimension in which John speaks of. So then, every image, every sound, every smell, every memory, emotion, sensation, event, information, belief, living, everything, which we registered consciously and subconsciously. Everything is left registered as is, as we experience it over here, but in a different place also. In other words, our conscience is here and it's there. It's the only way in which this works. It is the place where John entered. I want you to see this again. And I saw a great white throne, which is a judgment. It's not a judgment, but a place to judge. And it's a jury. It's the one sitting there. It's not just one. It's a whole quantity. Before which they fled. Exactly. It's as if they go into a different dimension after the veil moves away. In that dimension, the dead are called and they are standing, but they're still dead. And they have the book by memory. They have all the memory absolutely registered in that place. So then, what we see here is a copy. And that one is also a copy. I can't say that this is the original and the other one's not original because it's simultaneously. Whereas if we were divided, living here and living there, in that dimension. For what reason? Because Yahweh created it so that resurrection may exist. So then, in the moment in which we want to resurrect someone, let's suppose in the moment which God, the new God wants to resurrect a person, he doesn't have to call the particles that have ever existed somewhere on the earth, of our reality of the earth, so that they get together, or by a magical act, to create something that's completely new. He only has to bring it from that dimension, which is already created and it exists, to this dimension. If you understand what I'm saying, you'll understand it clearly. We, every human being, has an exact copy to the moment, to the second, in a different place, in that dimension in which John says, I don't know, it's a different dimension, there's no heaven, no earth, no nothing. That, to which we're connected, these two things at the same time, no matter what happens to us, we don't need anything from us so that there's any resurrection, because resurrection comes from the copy that's over here. See if you understand what I'm saying. A special power is not required of a God. No. It's already created, the resurrection is. The body that we had, in the moment in which one resurrects a person that has died at 80 years old, the copy that is kept in that dimension to which John entered, what I'm saying, it's all in the Bible, okay? They're dead and they're standing. You understand what I'm saying? If you understand that, I'll repeat it so that your mind does not block. John sees, he has the purpose to enter into a dimension where they're dead. They have a body and they're standing. It means that we have a body, a double body, somewhere else in a different dimension. There's no argument. I know it's my way of thinking, but I believe it as if it were, because when I read it, it's like, kind of like I comprehend it, what John is seeing it. In the time of John. And everything which this 80-year-old lived, when he died, he died, however he died. That body was, up until that time, and there, the time of life is, and they died just as this body died. They can destroy this body, but the soul makes no sense, because the soul is double over there. So then all this has disappeared. The physical matter and spiritual matter, it doesn't matter anymore, because it's an exact copy in that world, in that dimension. At that moment, that guy is suspended until a God enters into that dimension and takes him out of there. When he brings him out of there, he brings him just as he died. If he died at 80 years old, he cannot resurrect at 20. He's like, because the Adventists taught me that when you resurrect, Ellen G. White said it, that you don't resurrect old. No, he resurrected young. It was going to be difficult to recognize, right? My grandma, if she died at 90 years old, last time I saw her, she was 90 years old. And now she resurrects as a 25-year-old girl. I might even like the girl. You don't even know. And it's my grandma. It's like, hold on, I'm your grandma, or your great-grandma, or something. She says, hold on. Wait, you're 25 years old. I don't recognize that dog shit, old lady, old hag. No, I'm your grandma. It makes no sense. But that's how I was brought up. Because they only brought me up with only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. So what would be marvelous, what I'm telling you, and I'm not proposing, I understand it the way it says it here. It says here, I saw the dead great and small. They could be great or small. But he sees them how they died. If they died as a child, they resurrect as a child. If they died as an old man, bent over and everything, he resurrects as an old man bent over. If he died with a huge cancer, he resurrects with the cancer. He resurrects with the cancer. And I want you to understand that. Just as they died, they resurrect. I saw the dead great and small, standing before God. And the books were opened. Impressive. Just like that. Absolutely impressive. So then, if this person of 80 years old died due to sickness or something, let's think, died due to a sickness, just as they died due to that sickness, in that way, God grabs it from there. The new God resurrects and brings her over. There's a portal for this. Of course, there has to be a portal. A portal that goes through that dimension, and only God can open it. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is not a Hollywood movie. There's a portal. There's a portal. There's a portal to move from here to where Yahweh lives, which is pretty far away from this. Is not heaven above, but it is heaven, but to the south. There are portals to go through, and only God can open them. So then those portals, there is a portal for this. I'm going to call it a name that you know, a name, a subworld, an underworld. And God goes through that portal, and it says the heaven and earth disappeared in the earth and all things. No, he went through a portal. In that portal, there's any character of these. I call them characters because they're dead, but they're all there. It's not that they're thinking how they were. Let's see, let's bring particles of the body. No, no, no. He died this way, and that's how I bring him back. Because as he lived this experience, he was living as double over there. What happens here happens there. If I lose a body, an arm, we cut the arm from the other one quickly. It's an exact copy. It's a backup. You see those computers. You understand what a backup is. Everything that I do here, if you have a backup, you're also doing it there in the cloud at the same time. So then you do the backup like this. You go into the cloud. If you lose everything, you download it from the cloud. That's the cloud. So you understand. That are in our mind, you can understand that more, because if I tell you what the cloud is, well, you can explain it clearly. A cloud is a system. There's a data place that a company has, and I upload my data there. If I lose them, I can recuperate them. That is perfectly what a cloud is. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. You can understand it more than John. But now I'll advance even further. We are connected to a cloud. That cloud is a backup of ours. Everything that we think, see, do, feel, touch, experience is being kept there. It says in the books were opened. And what's it say? And they were written in the books, all their works. Can they write all their works? It is because it is a copy of ours, exactly, of every human being. When I'm telling you it's marvelous, and absolutely marvelous, nobody has ever given an explanation of what the resurrection is, and I'm giving it to you because not only does it make sense, I'm showing you with the little information that we have, I'm showing you that there is a dimension that only God enters into in the dead. So then when God wants to resurrect someone, let's resurrect, for example, this 80-year-old guy who died of a sickness, and then God opens the portal. He brings this guy and brings him. And it's the exact copy of the one who died. It's exact. It's not even a copy. It's simultaneously the same being. It's the same being. If he has a smudge on his face, he also has it. Every character defects, this one also has. Everything. So then the one that's over there prepared the body. The resurrection is just to call him. Just to call him. It's not the resurrection which has been given here on earth. All the resurrections that we've seen here on earth were to die again. Lazarus died again. All whom Elijah resurrected died again. It was a resurrection that was temporary. But it was not the resurrection that we're talking about here. That death is placed in order for death to not exist anymore. So then, we enter God only. Access is, and I'm referring to us, the new God has access there. This is what the Creator invented, of course. Accesses that dimension, that cloud that we can call, brings the guy. No matter if he was eaten alive, burned, no matter. You don't need anything from him. What's he going to do with bones or 3,000 years ago? Oh, I have the little bones here. That has nothing. I'm bringing the person as is, as they died. The 80-year-old, we bring him as he died. So then, we already know the whole history. God is going to tell him, I've just resurrected you. You have finished your life due to this sickness. It was a product of this, and that. You still have it. You are entering back into the world in the same condition in which you left. Because if they don't go back in the same condition in which they left, then it made no sense. This life made no sense. None whatsoever. None. They have to come back just as they left, of course, if they died in an accident, burned alive, that person is brought back just like a second prior to the accident. Of course, if a guy died with 7 shots to the head, they're not going to bring him back with 7 shots to the head, but they bring him before the first shot. I want you to understand that. Because the cause of death was foreign. He doesn't come with his head there, but he comes before the head is separated by the sickness. He comes with that sickness. Why? Because he himself will recuperate it. Because there won't be anything more marvelous, more glorious, more incredibly that makes you feel good that you win your own victories, not somebody to win it for you. So then the same thing that killed you, now you have the opportunity of defeating them, because you're no longer going to die, but you have to go fighting and going through the transformation little by little, of going reducing until you make it disappear what ended your life. And if you need the help of God in certain things, for example, for an arm to grow, or that an organ that is in atrophy and you don't have it, there's no problem with that. But the people have to go through the process thereof. Why? First of all, because we're going to be eternal. And no one's in a hurry. It's not like in this life, either you do it now, or you have children now, or you lose it. No. In that dimension, in the new kingdom, no one's in a hurry. So then we have to enjoy the transformation. And inasmuch that old age ruined us, that now about old age, we have to enjoy the rejuvenation. The rejuvenation. We have to enjoy the transformation thereof, because an 80-year-old, 90-year-old, 100-year-old would be absolutely horrible to bring him back to 25. No. Of 100 years old, all wrinkled, like those 100 years old with all their flesh falling off, to tell them, congratulations, you got to an age. It's spectacular. A lot more than others. Now the process, you're going to enjoy it, but backwards. In the measure that you're learning all the things which the new government will offer you, you're going to go back. So that fulfills many things. Your own personal victory, not a miracle of God's that took your old age away. No. You're going to enjoy it to get better every day, not to get worse every day, because we get worse every day. There's no turn of the page. We get worse. Some years pass by, and it's not all of a sudden not that you got at 60, and then at 59 I was super young, and now today everything fell. No. It is little by little. But how beautiful will it be to rejuvenate? It is the unique experience. The other part is that the whole world will know you, because that's how you left the earth. If I see my mom at 25 years old, I'm not going to even recognize her. And I want to see my mom and dad as they left. My mom hasn't left yet. She hasn't left yet. My mom, her whole mind is failing, but in the other one, it's also her mind is failing, but it's all the same. But it's all the information is that everything that should not fail. It's completely everything. Even what we don't see consciously, it is being kept. Everything is being recorded. All of the experiences that we don't even have the idea what happened, it's all recorded. Even since when we were born, and maybe even the recording of what we felt in the womb of our mother. If that's recorded or not, I don't know, but all the rest of things that we're not conscious of, we're going to have it all recorded. How traumas were created, because God has to access that information. It's not that God knows everything because God knows everything. He just looks at you and he knows everything. No. You have to see things as more real, more like us. We have to do everything by everything costs. It's all, we have to wing it all. It all costs. You want for the entrances to not get ruined, you have to exercise them. It costs. There's an effort that has to be made. We have to read everyone's information. When it says, and the books were opened, We have to read them. So then it's not a reading, and we're going to absorb everything that happened with this individual to know him perfectly well. So then he's going to come as is. He's going to be recognized by all his beloved beings, and they'll recognize him. And after that, it'll be regression to an eternal youth. That's absolutely marvelous. It can't be any other way. It can't be a different way. An instantaneous youth. No, it would make no sense whatsoever. You have to experience what became old and what it is to become back to be young. It is a transformation that is little by little, slow, so that we go and experience the change. This will be absolutely marvelous, just like that, marvelous. And those who died of sicknesses, that sickness is there, but we're going to help them to solve it. They can no longer die. So then what we have to do is solve it. How do you solve it? By learning. By learning and living everything again. This will be something more beautiful than what you can imagine. So then how does the resurrection work? That we have a dual copy somewhere else in a different dimension. It's not going to work with magic by saying, hey, particles get together here. Just imagine a different way. Just imagine a different way. And God comes and he resurrects. He says, I want to resurrect. Let's suppose my dad, Agustin Ezequiel Silva. And where is he? He is in an urn. Maybe she doesn't even remember that she has a husband or something. I don't know, but he is in an urn. So then from there, let's suppose that all of a sudden my mom dies now, and my sister grabs that urn and she takes it to the Boca field, even if he didn't belong to Boca. He was not from Boca. I am from Boca. And for a Bostero, a Boca fan, there's no best one. Just like a verse of his ashes into the field. Did you know that part of his ashes were there, and another part in Rosario Central, and in Lanús another part, I think. But in Boca, there's many people to resurrect there of the ashes, but it's not just of a magic out of nothing, and it's the particles of the voice of God. They become, and they go and they form, like Ezekiel says. And there is the valley of the dry bones, and I saw how the tendons were getting together. Absolutely a lie. Every body is already made. The resurrection is more simple than what you believe. It's not made out of nothing. Already our body is made. It is entirely made. You are living a dual life, just like that dual. Even if you don't know it, because you have a copy in the cloud. So then if you ended up with your life, you're not going to end up with your life, because you have another copy there. They're going to call you and says, why did you do away with your life? That was so stupid of you. Very stupid of you. And now you can't do it again. That happens to all who suicided. That is my absolute explanation of what resurrection is. The resurrection is halfway there. We all exist in that dimension, all of us. Every body that has ever existed, of all the billions that exist, they're all there. They're all there, in fact. Or else it would be for us impossible to know people that we don't even know. In fact, we have to enter into the room to see how our great-grandparents were. People that no one knew. Lost tribes. Who's going to claim them? No one's going to claim them. But in fact, they're there. They're in an order like a library. Let's see, Latin America. Come here. You're going to have all who were born and died. Isn't it fantastic what I'm saying? It's absolutely brilliant, everything that I say. But it is the truth. It is the truth. All who have ever lived are there. There's no need for anyone to know them. We're talking about 6,000 years of history. How the fuck are we going to know who lived? Or how their name is there? You have the name in their life too. What they've done. So then, the day that we say, oh, let's start to resurrect those that came after Adam and Eve. So then we start, and we say this, and that. And we're going to sit all the judges to It's better than watching Netflix and other things because we're going to see life. We're going to say, well, we're going to do this, and that. But we start to get to know the people. We start to get to know the people. In fact, we can have a dialogue with those people. It says that the dead are standing. They're not hanging in a peg. In Abraham, exactly, in a different story. In Abraham and Lazarus and the poor man and the poor man and the rich man. It can. It says there's on Thursday. He says there you have a dialogue of dead people. Abraham is that they're all dead. They're all dead. So there you have a dialogue that only God can access to. They don't have a conscience until we bring them back to this world. So you even have a dialogue with people there. You can have a dialogue with them. What I'm telling you is something which the resurrection is already there. The bodies are there. All the bodies are there. If we, those who are left alive, if we don't die, then that backup is no longer needed. Your transformation begins with the body that you never lost. But the transformation has to begin with the body that you had, with the defects that you have. It cannot begin out of nothing, because I want you to understand this too. When we are born, it depends on whatever culture you have, the parents that you have. It depends on the language you speak, the neuroanal connections are becoming different. So then you can have lots short circuits in your life, like I could have them, everyone could have them. And we have to reproduce that exactly as is. You can't just reproduce a person. Did you know how impossible it would be? That's why I understand the word. Do you know how impossible it would be, even for a God, to grab a person and to make them a new body and to put the spirit in it? It becomes even more complicated because all of the connections in the head, they're not physical anymore. It's a very spiritual connection in the head. So then God has to record the information, because if they were to place my spirit in a different body, I'm not going to act the way I am, because what I am is the union of this body with the spirit. It is not just the spirit, it is the body, because the personality that it gave me is this body. Believe it or not, it's not just the spirit. That's why the Jews said, if I were to grab the spirit of a lion and place it in a rat, it's going to act like a rat, not like a lion. And if I take the spirit of a rat and I place it in a lion, it'll act like a lion, not like a rat, because the spirit will have to adapt to the hardware that it has. So then, if they were to place my spirit into a different body, my way of thinking will not be in that new body. It could be better or worse, but it'll be different. So then my way of processing all of the information that comes to me is unique for me. The time of reaction, the time of interpretation, everything which the judgments that are made in my mind on a permanent basis, unique for me and unique for you. If they were to change us, we would think differently, because you would be using a hardware that's different. Because what we are, it is the union of the soul with this hardware. If the hardware already doesn't work, this soul, in order to be the same person, needs a hardware that's exactly the same. And if to that we add that the memories are in the hardware, not in the spirit, but because we have understood, I don't know if it is so, but we have understood that the memories are recorded in the head, not in the spirit. The spirit rules, and how do you say this? And it causes, it's the manager of the memory, but it's not the memories. And we are basically the memories. If our spirit, they were to take away the memories, we're no longer us. Never again. In the last subject, somebody commented in the video saying, let's see if I can find it. Somebody commented whether it would be feasible that those who are dead and don't have a body, that those souls in the new earth would be born as our children. Something like that. And I'll tell you no. Absolutely impossible. I don't believe in reincarnation. If reincarnation exists, it destroys the individual entirely. Because the personality is not in the soul, it's in the soul and in the hardware we had to use. That is what it is. That's what it forms. The soul forms something, the body that we have is something else, and this forges the individual. None of the two separate things is the individual. So then the memories of these two things at the same time is the individual. If I take this memory out and grab the soul and I make it be born again in a different body, that individual has been destroyed forever. That one destroyed forever because this soul will live in a different individual, different experiences, and it can no longer, I can't even call it reincarnation. It's not that we're reincarnating a soul. The soul doesn't think for itself. What thinks for itself is the union with the hardware. And the memory it has, that's what makes it think for itself. If I separate the soul, if I keep the soul somewhere and I want to make him a body like unto it, like what I was told that God makes a body out of nothing, that body out of nothing, like unto the original, with that soul won't think the same. Because it's not a standard body, whichever, it's a different person. And aside from the fact that the body keeps a certain type of memories, we could say that, but if the memories are in the body, then it cannot be rebuilt. It's lost forever. That's why people say when you die forever. There's no way whatsoever for a resurrection to exist in a different way. There's no way. No resurrection could exist. A resurrection. It's a different person. And if you lose your traumas, it's not you. If I take all your traumas, you become a different person. And I want you to surpass it, every one of those, and you become a different person, but keeping the memory of what you were completely, without losing anything. You understand what I'm saying? So then, what I am teaching is the true resurrection. It is because this body is discardable. We have a copy in the cloud, and I can't give you any greater hope than that. If you believe what I just told you, then you start to not worry. You worry less because you have your exact dual, which is you, kept in a security box. No matter what happens to you, doesn't matter. Once you resurrect, it is that because it's simultaneously what you feel here, it is from there. And you are in an unknown dimension for humans, but it is recognizable to God. That is why Yeshua, who is Yahweh, says, God is not a God of the dead. He's a God of the living. For him, they all live. Because they've got the exact copy of all who have ever existed there with dates, with everything. And their whole history. If you comprehend that, for God, they're all alive. For us, they're dead, but they are alive there. So then, this message of resurrection and what the mechanic is of the resurrection, it's marvelous. You don't need any bones. It's impossible to rebuild from a bone with the same neurons. It's impossible. They would be different people. If you make a body for me, if I die, you make a body to me, for me, and then you put my soul in there, I'll be a different person. I'll be a different person, entirely a different person. And you said, no, well, keep your memories. Where are you going to get the memories? The memories are in the hardware, which is the physical part. The physical part, that's where the memories are. How can you duplicate them? It has to be right in this moment for them to be duplicating right this very instant. There can't be a reconstruction of it. Because reconstruction of nothing, got to talk about that God has a memory for every person, how they were, to be able to rebuild them. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it doesn't work that way. That works that God says, no, right now. make a backup. If we as humans, if we don't lose something and not to reconstruct it by memory, we back it up. If we write half a book, I'll go crazy if I just write one paragraph like this and then I go like this and I fail like this and it's all frozen. I want to break everything and then cut it in half. So then I save all the time. One line and I'll save. Exactly. If we are like that, God is also like that. I'm not going to be remembering how you were, the memories you had, all the chaos you went through, all the experience you went through. I'll save it for you. No, of course not. You're living here and there. And it's all registered automatically. That is absolutely perfect. Just like that. Perfect. The resurrection is already there. We all live in that world. John says, and I saw a white throne. This message is not for John, it's not for the churches, it's for the Messiah. And the Messiah receives this message and comprehends it. The rest don't understand anything. And I saw a great white throne, and the one sitting upon it, upon whose face fled heaven and earth, and no place was found for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before God. And the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. Spectacular. In that place is every work, every second of existence, and with body and all. That is why he sees the dead. He sees them in the memory. He sees it as a soul. He says that he says the dead, great and small. Great and small. Let's see what it says in the Spanish DHH. Revelation chapter 20. From 11 through 15, it reads as follows. I could say barbarities, but let's see. I saw a great white throne, and the one sitting therein, before whose presence the earth and the heaven disappeared. They went into a different dimension, clearly. And you could not see them anywhere during that time that they were in that vision. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne. And the books were opened, and also another book, which is the book of life. The dead were judged according to their acts and according to what was written in those books. Exactly. The sea handed over their dead, and the kingdom of death cast out the dead that were in therein, and all were judged according to what they had done. Then the kingdom of death was cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Perfect. There was a different version that I read the other day, and I said, this one's good in this version. Let's see, Revelation chapter 20, I think it was, let's see, it was the Torres Amat version. See the Torres Amat here, let's see. Torres Amat says, then I saw a great shiny, and then this is Jesus, the Messiah, sitting in the seat, before whose sight the heaven and earth disappeared, and nothing was left of them. And I saw the dead, great and small, before the throne. And the books were opened of the consciences. That one's good. I like that part. And the books of the consciences were opened. So then you've got the conscious there already. So then our conscious is here and there. Because we're this union of this body. We cannot separate this body from what we are. Because if you were born in a culture, you'll be in a certain way. If you were born in a different skin, let's suppose that I was born of a black skin, I would think different. There's no turn of the page. Better or worse, different. Because I would already be brought up with a different mom and dad. And with other problems. And I'd have other virtues or other defects. If I had been born Oriental, it could be Chinese, Japanese, Korean, or whichever of those, I would be different. And I would look at myself in the mirror and be different. I would not be Christian. In order for me to be what I am, I have to be what I am. And to have been born the result of all the variables that have been given, or non-variables, but this is the result thereof. Nothing can be changed of me that makes me not be me. I have to experience a change on my own. They cannot change my body. I have to have an exact body, exactly the same, and to surpass every one of my things. But I have to surpass them with the help of the government. Let's suppose that is true, but I have to surpass them myself, even if they help me. The only way for that resurrection to exist is that we have a dual body, exactly, just like I told you. I'm repeating it so that you can think it over and that you see that there's no other possibility. Nobody found the comment that I told you about? Oh, come on. He said, isn't it that in the resurrection we're going to have children to bring back the souls that have already died? Something like that? No. I don't believe at all, whatsoever. It is complete insanity that destroys creation, whichever thought about reincarnation. No, reincarnation does not exist. It does not exist. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't make anyone progress, and it destroys the person. If a person reincarnates, whose name is Hannibal, and then his name is John, and that Hannibal had children, the day that both live, who will live, Hannibal or John? We're going to tell John, no, you were Hannibal, and that which you have there were your children. They're no longer your children, because they were children of Hannibal. You were reincarnated in John. It destroys the whole sense of everything, absolutely of everything. If reincarnation exists, nothing exists of what I do, nor a new world will exist, nothing. If reincarnation exists, then what it exists now is what exists. If reincarnation exists, then there will never be a new world. We're going to continue living and reincarnating for all eternity. There's nothing. We experience this, then we no longer exist. We experience that, but it's no longer me, because my soul is not the one that thinks. Because humans have been formed out of two clear things, and I want you to understand this clearly, how humans were formed. Genesis chapter... No. Yes. That the soul went back to God. And I see the text is correct. The soul goes back to God, but the soul is already somewhere else. Okay. Genesis chapter 2. No, pardon me. Genesis... Hold on. I want to read what I want to tell you about. Let's see where this is. Okay, Genesis chapter 2, 7. Genesis, or Bereshit, chapter 2, 7 says, Then Yahweh Elohim, or Jehovah God, formed man from the dust of the earth. He made a character, a doll. It was nothing, it was the hardware. It was a hardware where what he formed was everything that he formed. It would have neurons, it would accumulate information, it would be recorded, but we needed the soul. And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. That doll, he breathed a breath of life, which is what Ecclesiastes says, that it returns to God and man back into the dust, and the man was a living soul. So then we are not a soul, we're a unit, actually. We're a unit. And that unit is made up of, as Hammer says, psyche, the breath of God. You cannot explain it. Psyche, brain, an organ. The organs are our entire body. The psyche is the soul. There's no explanation. The brain is the unit of the processing unit, central processing unit. That unit has different capacities. There are people that come with lots of capacity, others with lots less capacity. Others that never developed it, thanks to their parents, and others which developed it a lot. So then we've got the psyche, which is the spirit of life, the brain, which is the hardware, and then you've got all different ones, and the organs. If these three things do not get complemented, we don't have a person. We cannot get that psyche and place it in a different person because it would work differently. The organ, the brain would work differently. The organs are different. So then, it is fundamental what I've just explained of what resurrection is. Marvelous. They're already done. You only need the power of God to bring them into this dimension. So then, that question has been answered. I'll just read, well, just in case I forgot to tell you something, what I studied as notes to remember what I was going to say. We're all connected to a backup system, which registers absolutely everything, and also our body. Every image, sound, smell, memory, sensation, plane, belief, life, living, everything, absolutely everything. And there's a type of portal that can go from that dimension into reality, to another dimension. And from then on out, precisely of how the person ended their existence, begins a process of change. To rejuvenate, grow, because if it's a child, they have to grow. To develop, perfect itself, etc. But always starting off up until we got to on this earth, I believe in a slow transformation, and so that we experience the change. There is time left. Nobody should be in a hurry. The change should be by the hand to what we are learning. Some people it'll be more difficult for. Some people to learn more. I think the change will be faster. That we live and experience the change. In my opinion, that would be the most pleasant to experience. An experience of learning and satisfaction and unimaginable triumph and unforgettable. That, for me, is what resurrection is. And it can't be in a different way. It's not that it's my opinion, it's the only way that it'll be. There can't be in a different way. Now, the comment you were looking for. Yes? Okay, the comment was from Daniel Santillan. It says, we have to reproduce because we die. That is what I taught. If we don't reproduce, it's because we don't die. The greatest need of reproducing is because we are mortal. But maybe we reproduce ourselves to give life to a spirit that does not have life. That does not have life. But maybe, obviously, that is what I taught. There are so many created spirits, and we have to all give them a body. That's why we're here for. To give them a body until the creation is completed. We're fine up until there. Maybe during the millennium, in other words, in the new world, we'll have to reproduce to give life to those who died during the 6,000 years of creation. No, of course not. If we reproduce and a baby's born, a person that lived and has experienced in all of their memories, what were they good for? Absolutely nothing. None. The thing is not to give that spirit that has lived another new body and for them to start to live another experience. No. Absolutely not. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't believe in reincarnation. I'll never believe in reincarnation, or else nothing would make sense, not in the very least. No matter what you experience, then everything deletes, and then you live again. That could be the worst wickedness. And then to experience again, you can kill yourself, and then you'll be born again, and you experience everything again. So then that is what reincarnation, complete garbage, absolute. I hope that none of you believes, has the least doubt whether reincarnation believes. Reincarnation does not exist, or else this life would make no sense, none whatsoever. None with complete garbage. The Creator would be the worst garbage that has ever existed. That makes us live different experiences over and over, and that we don't know, that we don't even know who we are. That would be absolute insanity with no sense, complete garbage. I want to be and experience ever since I was born, and to keep all of my memories and emotions and to archive them and not to change ever unto another person. Yeah, we can. Open your mind. We can get to the point that the new God or Messiah allows complete changes in your body, but you have to experience. You have to experience. There can be changes of a woman to a male, or of things, dual things, that I find perfect, but you have to experience them. Experience them. Like all of a sudden that you have muscles, and then all of a sudden, you have terrible muscles like Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, you have to go to the gym and experience the pain, and experience the exercise and weight, and imagine what you feel when you transform your body. Not due to an action. Oh, you want to have that body? There, here you go. Here's the body. No, you don't feel the satisfaction of having achieved it yourself. Like the Matrix. It says you want to be a pilot, a helicopter. Look, I'll download it. No, we don't want that. We don't want to download it. You want to be a helicopter pilot and start from nothing, and you'll feel satisfaction. You're not a musician. Don't think that you're gonna play like the best guitarist in the world. It would make no sense. You wouldn't even know how you learned it. You'll be like a robot. The fingers will move, and it can't be that way. What can be is that you have all the time in the world, and you say, okay, now I will start to play the guitar, and then you can ask the new God. If you don't have that skill and it's blocked, to give you the elements to unblock that skill, and for you to be a good musician. So I do believe in that. To ask, look, I've tried to be a musician and I can't. So that you can change in your mind the skill to be able to be that I do believe in. But afterwards, you have to practice, and you learn from zero. From zero, you learn everything. Because there's no greater satisfaction than to learn it yourself, not that it's served to you. To learn it yourself, and even more when there's an eternity. An eternity. That's the way it is. So then, that is what I believe in completely, and that is how the resurrection will be. Or else it wouldn't be written what I've just read to you. Very well. And I think it's been written for us. I'll go further. And I think it was written for us because that book was written for the Messiah. It is the wisdom that God gives to the Messiah. And if the Messiah, who is in charge of resurrecting, he doesn't know how it'll be, then God will have to say, look, I have a Messiah who is a virgin. That doesn't know. In fact, he's thinking that I'm going to resurrect him out of nothing. No. Like everything that I say is true and will happen. The Messiah now has the idea of how it'll be. He already knows. If you've heard me, you already know. He has power to open a portal and to jump onto that place where all the dead are, with all their memories, with all the information of people that you would not even know that existed. It's all in that place. So then, you already know it. God just has to give us the power to open precisely that portal and to pass on to that dimension which God enters into only. It wouldn't surprise me anymore if you've heard my words. We're waiting for him to give us that power to open that place. Of course, of course. You see how, I don't know if this is true, but Peter says that when Yeshua died, who was Yahweh, it says that he descended and he went to preach unto those from before the flood. It's in Peter. What is it referring to? They're dead, those from before the flood. He went to that place. You can speak with the dead. Let's read it because it's good. Can somebody tell me where it's at, please? It's found in, I think that it's in 1 Peter. That is where I'm going. 1 Peter 3. It just opened. Did you see the practice? 3:18. 1 Peter 3:18 says, "For also Christ hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust." You don't know what that means. "That he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit, by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison, which sometime were disobedient, when once the long suffering of God waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was preparing, wherein few, that is, 8 souls, were saved by water." That which I've just read, Peter says that when he died, he went to a place to preach to the dead spirits. I've just demonstrated. I'm sure Peter says that because Yeshua commented. He says, while I was dead, maybe he commented to him, when I was dead, I went to see, I was kind of bored of waiting. I had to demonstrate 3 days and 3 nights. So I went to speak with those from before the flood. Well, I won't explain that to you today, but I want to tell them that it's all fine, that they'll be resurrected. He did not speak with the conscience, present conscience, but in a different dimension where the dead are. It's not that they're alive, they're kept there, but God can speak with them, dialogue with them. Like I believe that Samuel was taken out of there. When Saul, God, not the witch, but God brought him through that portal. He brought Samuel through the portal. You see how it's this? And I saw as if it were spirits ascending. Well, it's a portal, and God brought Samuel, not Samuel's conscience, but was kept of Daniel, and with a message. That is what happened. So then, precisely, that is what I'm telling you. There is a dimension in which all the bodies are in already, ready to be resurrected. You don't have to create anything. You have to make anything. You have to bring them from there. That's it. Nothing else. Ours is there too, in case something happens. In case, like some of us, it's happened. It's a backup. It's a complete backup. So if something happens to you, the Messiah knows where to look for you. You're already whole and complete there. If you use glasses, they'll bring you back with glasses. They're not going to bring you back with 20/20 vision when you couldn't see shit. They're going to say no, because you would see your reality so ugly. What was far, what was close, that your own psyche and the laws that I placed, it made you not to see what you had close because you didn't like it, or what you had far away because you didn't like it. So then he protected you from that. These laws did. That Yahweh placed. But you'll come, with your glasses and everything, not like, oh, I see like never before. No. We're going to teach you, and we're going to repair that vision. But with work. That's the way it is. They'll come back bald, super bald, just like they end up bald. And you have to make the hair grow back without implants. We have to see what happened. Aside from the fact, just rejuvenate, don't you worry. You have 2 hair, then 10. When you get to the age where you had hairs, you're going to have so much hair. But you can do so many things for it to grow more, because you have to surpass things with your dad. There are things that he did that made you end up bald very soon. It's everything about what we live in. If we fix these things, it's because the Messiah, in other words, the whole group of people that will treat the humanity and say, this is your problem. You work on this and you part in progress, we make you remember and everything, it gets solved. You'll see how the hair starts to grow. Or your eyesight will be better. What you used to see and you didn't like to see, it's no longer in your life. We've separated it. And all those things. And everything will get recuperated marvelously. I've just given you an incredible message, unique in the world. But why did I give it to you? Because the Messiah has to know how it'll be. Or else, how the fuck is the Messiah? He already knows what the process is. Those from outside are going to believe what I say now. And I don't care if they believe or not, because they'll never enter that place consciously. They're already dead. They're already there, but they're not going to enter consciously to look for anyone. Only one that, just those, the one that has the keys of the abyss. You see how it says the abyss? What's the abyss? It's that place. The Messiah has the keys of the abyss. He can bring whatever from there. Enters the abyss and brings whatever he wants, of course. In the measure that so many expressions are going to start to make sense, because what are the keys of the abyss? The keys to that dimension. It is the portal. The keys of the abyss is to open a portal and to bring whatever we want from there. That's the way it is. It's as simple as that. Very simple. And I believe that more fabulous than this message, how are you going to find it? Proverbs chapter 2. Motive of the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. To understand wisdom and doctrine. Better said, well, yes, wisdom and doctrine. Better said is wisdom and discipline to know prudent reasons. Wisdom is Chokmah, which is science, intelligence, knowing wisdom. And today you've received wisdom, because now you can have with surety, with certainty, how the resurrection will be. There's no mystery. Actually, when you think about it, there's no mystery. If you have pictures and all the rest, and you lose them, and you haven't backed them up, you've lost them forever. But if you, as a creator, have been doing the backup constantly, you know that if you lose them, that's fine. You can get them all back because they're in the cloud. Well, the dead are in the cloud. Exactly, they're in the cloud. And today I've revealed something to you that only the Messiah should know, no one else. Because the rest don't even have access. They don't have the key. They don't have the key. Now all we need now is to have the key. The key to that place, which is the power to open that portal and enter. Wow, and that'll be marvelous. Can you imagine what that'll be? For me, it's an ecstasy to think about this. To see all the dead. Let's start with Adam and Eve and everyone that has ever existed. Their stories, we're going to pass so much time to their story, what they did, what their names were, and when we come, we have to know the people. Just imagine a God that resurrects a person they don't even know who the fuck that is. That this guy, first of all, how will I resurrect you? I didn't even know if you ever existed. And if I only know your name, let's suppose that we have to resurrect Napoleon Bonaparte. What do we know about him? Only what the books of history say, which is all a lie. Some say that he was short, but it has been discovered that he was almost 178. It was a lie, it says. So then was it a truth or was he short? We don't know. We don't know anything. So he was about 5'10". It says that there was arsenic in his remains, and who killed him? His second wife or the government of France. Who killed him? The wife, it says. According to Solomon, the wife killed him. But we're going to have to know. We go with the information of the books. Napoleon. We're going to resurrect him, and Napoleon comes up. If the God doesn't know the story of Napoleon, the true one, how shame is this? I read in the book of history. Just don't be ridiculous. We have to go to the place, read, and see and understand the open life of Solomon and make a dialogue with him, and then we call him to life, because we know everything. It'd be bad for God to not to know you, right? Just imagine you as the Christians and all of us who believe that God would resurrect us. Let's suppose that that's true, a Christian. And Jesus comes and starts to resurrect. Just like that, and massively. So then the Christians that love Jesus, he says, thank you, Jesus, for resurrecting me. And Jesus says, what was your name? Because tell the truth, I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't even know who you are, but I've prayed to you my entire life. I know you not. I know you not. Like the parables of the five virgins. Oh, open our, I know ye not. I never know ye. God cannot know that, cannot do that. The more the individual thinks is that God knows everything, your most intimate thoughts or not. God knows me. Well, the new God of the earth has to know the people who's going to resurrect. That would be so pathetic and shameful that the new God will start to resurrect. Says, come here, what's your name? This is his name and your address. What did you do? Where do you come from? Where were you born? What year, country, or territory? Maybe 3,000 years there was no country's territory. It'd be shameful. And God has to know absolutely everything of the people that he's going to resurrect. How do you know that? By going to that place. Absolutely. So then I like that question a lot. I don't know, these questions are kind of like, they're marvelous because they're there to teach you what we're going to do. And you already know what we're going to do. We're crazy, yes. We are very crazy. We are those crazies. But we already know how it'll take place. Did you like this subject? Don't forget to comment the subject. And don't forget, at least during this period, to help us to keep us up economically. Thanks to all who send, but to you who don't send and enjoy this, it's time for you to start to help us if you want to continue to enjoy this. Okay, Proverbs 1:3, to receive advice of prudence, justice, and equity, 4, to give wisdom to the simple and intelligence to the youth. I'll sum it all up as a purpose, a clear purpose, and a methodology in your life of the youth so that they can learn to decide, the youth. That's what the Proverbs are there for. To give us intelligence and wisdom decision making. 5. The wise man shall hear, and he shall augment his knowing, and the understood will acquire advice. So then, the Proverbs are for the wise so that they augment their wisdom, and for those that care, that understand what they're hearing, for them to acquire an advice. What's an advice? Methodology, a way of conducting yourself better in life. And I believe that, well, I'll advance one more, but we'll study it next week because I have some questions pretty much to answer, to understand. 6. In order to understand Proverbs and declarations, the words of the wise men and their deep sayings. What a spectacular text. What are the Proverbs? To understand Proverbs and declarations, words of the wise and their deep sayings. In the Jerusalem 2001 it says, to decipher Proverbs and sayings of the wise. And the enigmas, we'll study that once again next week. 6 and 7, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of Yahweh. All this, we've studied it a year ago already, but tell the truth, it is marvelous to understand what the fear of Yahweh means and all the rest. So then, but for now, I'll leave you. I'm already so hot right now. I don't know why I'm so hot today. We're already entering into the cold, but it's hot, right? Look at how I'm sweating. It's hot. So then, who taught all this about the resurrection? We did. We are those crazies. Do you know it, my friends? We are crazy because we think that there's an eternal justice that is called to rule the world. We are crazy because we believe in the resurrection. We are crazy because we believe that a key will be given to us to enter into a place. That place to know, little by little, every person that has ever existed and called them from the resurrection is already done. It's made. Elohim needs for us to learn the process that will execute. We are those crazies, yes. And if that is why we're crazy, I am proud of being crazy in that way. It ennobles me with the insanity of believing the way I believe. that a grave is already dug up for our tyrants, and that grave we're going to later enter to bring them out of there too, those tyrants, and make them good people. That liberty cometh, and the reign of the people, not any people, the people of the eternal truth, the people, the Argentine people of the eternal truth. It draweth nigh, and a great epoch will begin. A flower is born every day the sun comes out. Every now and then you hear that voice as of a sweet bread, delicious to sing in the balconies of the mind with the cicadas. But in turn, a transformer exists that consumes the best of you. He holds you back. He demands more and more. And there comes a point in which you no longer want. Suck at the liberty's breast. You always carry her within the heart. They may corrupt you. You may forget. But she is always there. Yesterday I had a dream with the hungry, the crazies, the dead, those who left, those who are in prison, those who are in that dimension. Today I arose singing this song of resurrection, which has been written some time ago in the time of Revelation. It is necessary to explain it and sing it once again, one more time. The destiny is written. The end is inevitable. The destiny of the dead is to live. Of how many? Of all of them. The end is inevitable. They will live again. The Messiah will receive the key, which opens a dimension where there is all the beings that have ever existed, memories, body and soul, everything. And when the Messiah decides so, he will bring him back, knowing the first and bringing them to life. Semper Fi, God, the true God, the one that has the key of the Hades, of death, and of life, that can enter and come out and bring the dead to life, that he doesn't need bones or particles or graves or anything to open the graves. Nothing of that he needs. He needs to go with the key to a place. That God is Argentinian. Let's go, the Argentinian God, the eternal truth. And there, one day, we're going to sing from the soul, let the laurels be eternal, which we knew how to achieve, crowned with glory, let us live, or we swear, with glory, to die. Long live the sons of Elohim, long live the Messiah. Let's go, Boca. Tomorrow we have to win, beat Estudiantes, and don't forget to give us a like, to comment, and to support this ministry. Hallelujah to every one of you. If you have questions, you'll see that they're phenomenal subjects for those who want to learn and have that desire of knowing the truth. Subjects come out that must be programmed by the divine mind that guides us, obviously, since we need to learn. So then you can write to my Facebook. Anyone that has a questions, I'll try to treat them anonymously. I have a lot to answer still, but you can still send your questions, hallelujah, to every one of you. We shall meet again next Shabbat.